Welcome to the Think Like an Employer workshop today. I appreciate you taking the time to attend the workshop with Career Services. We are going to focus on the criticality of using the employer's perspective in our communications with our prospective employers in writing, according to our marketing documents such as resumes, cover letters, job applications, and of course in-person communication with interviews, to really improve our ability to be able to convey value as an employee. It's important for us to learn employer speak and to learn how to think like an employer so that we can hear the words, "You're hired." So to be able to verbalize and communicate our skills and abilities and accomplishments is something that's really important in our job search. So our agenda today is going to be maximizing our communication and what is important to employers. We're going to highlight that. And of course, how can we match what employers want with what we offer as job seekers? So that's what we're going to focus our discussion on today. Well, when it comes to job seeking, a lot of times it's very easy to get into the mode of what are deal breakers for us, as far as what we're able to do or what we're not able to do. Sometimes it's easier for us to think about what we're not able to do. Sometimes if we think about, oh, our schedule is restricted, or I can only, I need to make so much money or above a certain point. I really need to be able to practice my skills. I'm not that good yet. And all of those constrictions actually put us apart, and they distance us when it comes to knowing really what's important to employers. So if we look at the illustration on the screen, we can see this communication gap happening between the applicant, which is us, actually getting into our deal breakers on what we can't do. And the employer, on the other hand, has a fully different perspective. They want someone who's available. They want someone that they can count on, that's dependable, that will show up for their shift. And someone who has the fundamental skills of being in a kitchen, understanding safety and sanitation, and understanding food costs, things like that. So we see here in this illustration, we see there is a gap in communication between the applicant and the employer. And we want to bridge this gap. And I will say this, that I've been an advisor for 8 years in the industry, and over time, I've seen very successful candidates secure jobs in the industry with little to no experience. And they really display three qualities that employers really want. And I'll highlight that a little bit later on. But we're going to be able to learn more about that today, what those three traits are. And it will help in our communication, and it will help us to understand what's important to the employer. So we want to change our communication focus to include more employer speak. We see now in the illustration, we are actually closing the gap of communication here. We're getting a little closer now. We see that in our job seekers mindset, we want to focus on what we can do, not what we cannot do. And so here, the applicant is focusing on what they can do. When are they available? Well, maybe they're available 7 days a week, or we're available 3 days a week. And they're highly dependable. And their motto is they clean as they go. And food cost management is important to them. So for them to be for job seekers like us to be able to verbalize that to employers, that is what is going to attract employers. Because as we can see, what is important in the employer's mind is what's illustrated here. Great, they hear this person is willing to work. This person is going to be dependable and show up. This person is not going to cost a lot in training time because they understand the fundamentals of safety and sanitation in the kitchen. And they're going to treat the food costs as important to them. And so we see this communication gap closing now, which is really what we want. That is our goal, because those that get hired actually close this communication gap. They're communicating in a way that shows that they understand what's important to the employer, and that's what's happening here. That communication connection is getting closer. All right, we're going to dig a little deeper now. What is the basis for employer speak? Well, we're going to talk about business metrics. It's really important to understand what is important to the employer. I will say this, there are two different categories that are important to the employer that all of these bullet points fall into: making money and saving money. So if you as a job search applicant can convey that in writing and in conversation, that is what is going to be important for the employer to understand your value, that you understand what's important to them, making money and saving money. And all of these bullet points that you see in front of you fall into those two categories. Do you understand the business metrics of what's important to employers as far as increasing sales, decreasing costs and waste, improving processes in the kitchen, minimizing turnover, improving the teamwork, because that translates to what leaves the kitchen onto the customer's plate, enhancing consistency, accuracy, cleanliness, and maximizing customer satisfaction, and minimizing overtime. So I'm going to allow you to think about something really quickly here. Who is at the center of our industry? Who is it? Is it the executive chef? Is it the general manager? Is it the sous chef? Is it the kitchen staff? Who is at the center of our industry? If you guessed it is the customer, you are right. It is the customer. The customer is at the center of our industry. So it's real important that all of the processes that happen in the kitchen, in back of the house, translate to understanding that that customer deserves the best. They deserve that accuracy and consistency all the time, and they are at the center of what we do. So very important to understand business metrics when it comes to getting into the mindset of what is important to employers. All right, so how do we achieve those business metrics? How do we get there? Hard skills. So hard skills are the skills that have to do with doing the job itself. So this could be knife skills, prep skills, cooking techniques, being able to identify what's in the kitchen, kitchen equipment, and knowing kitchen terminology, scaling recipes, decorating consistency, sanitation and safety, knowledge and awareness and execution of that, product ID, and different types of baking techniques. All of these are hard skills that you want to be able to convey value of, that you know about, that you're aware of, that you have knowledge of, that you can execute. And so all of that translates into being valuable and showing value as an employee, as a job searcher. And so an employer can actually picture you as an employee in their business. So those hard skills are very important. You are eligible for entry-level positions with little to no experience, because coming to school, you're actually getting exposure to these fundamental skills that are needed in the kitchen. Now let's move on to soft skills. So if some of you have some questions in mind, how can I provide value when I have little to no experience? Well, guess what? Your past experience, whether it be paid or unpaid, actually conveys value in soft skills. These are often called transferable skills, skills that go with you from one job to the next. And these are skills oftentimes school can't teach you, but they're very important, sometimes more important than the hard skills. This is being open to criticism, being open to feedback, being coachable, having a sense of urgency in the kitchen, time management, being organized, and really being decisive under pressure, being calm under pressure, having a commitment. So remember I told you earlier I was going to explain to you 3 traits that I see consistently in job seekers who can get the job, be hired with little to no experience? Well, I consistently find over the years that there are 3 traits that make students very successful, even as graduates, very successful in their careers. And that's the traits of professionalism, proactiveness, and a passion for the craft. Those 3 traits, and I'm sure that you're showing them here in school, these 3 traits really attract employers to you. And these are part of transferable soft skills that are oftentimes more important than the hard skills. And so having that professionalism, having a proactive nature, and having a passion for the craft, those are kind of the umbrella traits that watch over these transferable skills lists that you see right here in front of you. Very important, and you will draw employers to you with this. So we can translate that to our in-writing marketing documents, such as our resume, our cover letter, our letter of interest, and we can also verbalize this, communicate this when it comes to our interview. We're talking with employers and introducing ourselves. These soft skills and transferable skills are so important that they are part of a mini evaluation that your supervisor actually fills out on your weekly timesheet when you're out on externship getting credit for your job. So we see that some of those soft skills are there and some of those hard skills are there too. But you see those soft skills noted there: professionalism, sociability, how do you get along with your team, time management, how are you with your time? Are you understanding time and when things have to leave the kitchen? Work ethic, are you dependable? Are you reliable? So those soft skills you're actually rated on when you are in externship as part of the weekly timesheet. Where can we find the employer's version of employer speak? Ta-da! It's the job description. So the job description is a wealth of information. I want you to be really, really familiar with the job description when you're applying to different positions, because this is an employer's wish list and it gives us a lot of information. And part of this information we can actually include in our marketing documents when they apply to us, and things that we have done in our employment background. So let's delve a little deeper into that. Let's look at one. Remember, we talked about hard skills and soft skills. So let's try to pick those out. In red are going to be the hard skills, and in green are going to be the soft skills, the transferable skills. So we're looking at a food service worker job description for Sodexo. Here they have general responsibilities and they have skills and aptitude. So in the general responsibilities, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at hard skills, reading recipes, and then knowing how to operate certain kitchen utensils, being able to weigh, measure, mix, wash, peel, cut, season, and understanding food storage, keeping records, being able to follow rules and regulations in the kitchen, and understanding the basic cooking methods. Now on the green lettering, that's where you're going to see the soft skills. So here's what's popping out at us. We're highlighting the soft skills of being positive, having communication skills, being professional, able to work unsupervised, being able to adapt in the kitchen, open to learning, having high standards, and being flexible with the schedule, being able to help out on different shifts. So that's the employer's wish list. So if you can look at your marketing documents when you go to apply for, say, a job description like this, you want to look at your marketing documents to see if you have included these types of things in your resume, in your cover letter, or in your letter of interest? Do you have some of these things in there? You should. This is what is going to be able to match you with this job description. And I will tell you a little inside tip is that when you apply online, especially for corporate-owned sites, there is not a person that's going to be making an initial decision on moving you forward. It's an actual database system called the Applicant Tracking System, ATS. And that data system is actually looking for a percentage of keywords in your resume, in your cover letter. They're looking for keywords that are based off of this job description. Little tip for you, if you don't match up to a certain percentage, then your resume gets kicked out and it will not be seen by a person. So that's how important looking at that job description is and matching it to as closely as you can that applies to your marketing documents. Just a little tip for you there. All right, we're going to look at a pastry cook job at Roy's. We see here their requirements. So out of their basic requirements, we see they're not as detailed as the other job description, and you're going to find that. Job descriptions are going to vary, so they're not going to be as detailed as others are sometimes. So here in the green, we're highlighting to you what the transferable skills are: attention to detail, creativity, having organization, having leadership skills, and wanting to be able to develop yourself as a professional. So it shows that you have a passion for the craft, you have a commitment. And in the red are the hard skills. Here you see, do you understand sanitation principles, food prep, baking techniques, knowledge of baking with certain ingredients, maybe gluten-free, sugarless, dietary restrictions, and do you have a certificate in culinary or pastry and baking? Okay, so that gives you the employer's wish list for this pastry cook job. So again, you want to look at your marketing documents and work with your career advisor too, because we can definitely help you with looking at your marketing documents and looking at the job description that you're going to apply to and seeing if we can really close that gap of employer speak and really show value with what's important to the employer. Where do we find that? In the job description. All right, there is a tool that each of you are going to receive, and you're going to really love this. I want you to take your time in filling it out and really think about it, because this is a tool that is going to uncover your employer speak, and it's going to help you to develop employer speak. You're going to write things down, and you're going to be able to put them into your own words so that you can become familiar with that, so you can convey your value to employers. So some questions on the Employer Speak Skills Finder is, what were your performance goals and what skills did you use to meet or exceed them? So here we see that it's asking for somebody who has a position in the past, and maybe it's not related to the industry, but typically everybody has performance goals and skills that they had to meet. So I want you to think about that when it comes to filling out your Employer Speak Skills Finder. And what are you known for on the job site? What would fall apart if you weren't at your job for a week? And how did you become the first, best, or most effective in any particular function? And how did you regularly meet deadlines or timelines? That's really important. And if there was a mistake made, what did you do about it? So this tool can really help you when it comes to figuring out what your employer speak is, because this is actually figuring out what is valuable to you. So this will definitely help you, and you will actually get this after this workshop. All right, so here when it comes to employer speak, it really does get us heard, it really does get us hired. And so we can see a communication connection with the illustration in front of you, with the job seeker on the left and the employer on the right. And we see now the job seeker is more polished in conveying value. They can convey value in understanding that there's different types of kitchen equipment, different types of cooking methods that they can identify, that they've developed a team spirit and they're able to work within a team. They're able to deliver consistent knife skills. And they've used those knife skills in order to produce consistency and accuracy with menu items and plating presentations. And so that value is translated to the employer. Wow, this person has a knowledge of that kitchen equipment. They're a team player. They're proficient with their knife skills. They're consistent and they're accurate in what's executed in the kitchen. And they have a high standards for plating presentation. So that's really important to employers. This job seeker is on its way to getting hired because the employer understands the value that they bring, and the job seeker understands what's valuable to the employer. So that's real important. We see the communication connection growing. Awesome. So I want to ask you if you have any questions or answers right now. Here in Career Services, we're available to help you with several different types of services. So I would say this, each of you are assigned to a Career Services representative. And so it's important for you to actually reach out and get a one-on-one consult with your Career Services rep. Here we can talk about goal setting, we can talk about industry overview. We definitely review resumes and talk about interviewing skills, give you some advice and coaching and support when it comes to preparation for externship, and definitely some moral employment support for sure. So our expertise and specialty here in Career Services is helping students with their career in the industry and externship preparation. So if you would like a one-on-one consult with your Career Services representative, I highly recommend it. And you can simply send an email to careerservices@escoffier.edu, and it will get routed to your Career Services representative assigned to you, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment with them. Okay, so with that being said, I want to take note of those that have attended, and I'm going to go ahead and end the recording at this point.